Hello, J. Krieger, back again for another chapter reading. And tonight, I thought I would switch things up. I've been meaning to come out here. Unfortunately, the cicadas are still out, but we're at Sherman Park where the burial mounds are. And you can kind of see they start way back there by that sign, and actually even across the road and all the way down, all the way over here. And there's bats flying everywhere. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 burial mounds there, plus another one, 5, 6, at least 6 that I can, 7 maybe. There's 8. There's one right next to me. Burial mounds, and probably more in the area. Anyways, I'm over here at Sherman Park atop the hill. We've missed the sunset, but we still have light. And so that's cool. You can still, you can look out on the city. And we'll sit here with these ancient burial mounds while I read the next chapter from my book, The Magic Paintbrush. Let's see here. Tomorrow I might not be back. I might wait till Monday again before I read, but that's okay. We're getting closer and closer to the end, but we still have a few chapters left. Where did I leave off last night? Oh, that's right. Botticelli and Bourdon went running through the streets, causing trouble, causing a ruckus, and we found out where Botticelli got his black attire and his long billowy hat from. He threw it into a rock into the Moroni's tailor shop, which he was an artist from way back when. And so tonight we'll be reading Portrait of an Artisan. There goes some birds. So I will, let's see here. I will start reading and then I'll maybe do a little talk at the end. Portrait of an Artisan, and that was a real portrait. It was Portrait of an Artisan or Portrait of an Artisan painted by El Greco or El Greco, depending on how you want to pronounce it. All right, hold on, I'll get started here. My water with me. And this is a good chapter here. I really like this one. There's a lot of modern art and cubism incorporated into the chapter. Here we go. The continuing saga of Bourdon's story. The next day my head was throbbing like an orangutan. I thought the night before was a delusional dream brought on by too much gale laughter and red punch had at the party. Then I noticed some new attire hanging on Botticelli's desk chair. The events from there slowly began to unravel. The encounter with that daring woman, those ruffians Botticelli got into a scuffle with at the bar. I specifically recalled him throwing a rock into a shop window. I couldn't remember the name of the place, but I was sure he threw that rock. When I confronted him about it, he said a tailor by the name of Moroni fell in love with the painting of his Portrait of an Artist's Son. Yes, I'm reading my chapter. I've been doing chapter readings from these books. And the rest are on my channel. Where was I? Moroni fell in love with the painting of his Portrait of the Artist's Son. He just had to have it, but he fell short on the price tag. So he traded him for the clothes. He hoped his new attire would garner the favor he sought with our higher-end clientele. Of course, that was a lie, and he often gave that up with a crude breath of air, followed by a whining snivel. While I was trying to piece things together, my father showed up. To my surprise, he presented Botticelli with a painting entitled La Primavera. La Primavera. It was well done. Not one of his typical motifs of royalty standing in a noble pose or the barbaricism of gladiators caught in the heat of the moment. I remember these surreal-like creatures depicted on it. They were gathered in some sort of enchanted forest scene, performing a ritual by the looks of it. My father said it was his way of thanking him for producing such fine work over the past few months. He said everything about the piece reminded him of how he only painted at night and daydreamed of his fairy tale-inspired masterpieces during the day. Botticelli thanked him and said he had a gift for him in mind as well, a late birthday present. He offered to paint his portrait. My father thought it was a splendid idea to have a like-minded master capture his essence on a canvas, and it was settled as easy as that. His fate was sealed forever with a crooked smile and a handshake with the devil himself. They got started sometime in the late evening. My father was waiting patiently in front of an unusually wide and tall canvas, propped up on an easel. He was posed nobly as he would have any one of his subjects do. I didn't realize he planned on painting his entire stance, but I suppose that's what they agreed on. Botticelli laid out his paints, every shade down to the whiskers. He began with a stroke of paint over his garments, and then he swiped them onto the face of the canvas, quite literally. Well, thank you. Thank you for complimenting my channel. I was completely unaware. I guess I just didn't want to believe what I was seeing. No matter, I can't change the events of the past. I can only live with the regret of the future. I grew tired of the ramblings of these two old men crooning on about the study of cadavers, muscle tendons, hamstrings, and arteries, and so on. So I went out back and took a nap on Botticelli's bed of flowers. Sometime after the stars came out, I woke thinking they had left, perhaps gone to that bar Botticelli took me to. Then I heard this muffled sound coming from the corner of the room, behind the canvas. To my utter horror, when I turned the painting over, I found my father bound to it like a strong horse glue. It was an exacting replica of the man, the gray streaks running through his beard, his pronounced brow and cheekbones. It was almost like looking into a mirror, aged 50 years or so. I don't know. Oh, he's old. My father remained strong. He told me of Botticelli's plot to overthrow his seat next to the king's, and how he was planning on overthrowing the king's seat as well. I told him to wait there in the painting, and I would go to the king at once and explain everything. Then I looked around the room at all those portraits Botticelli had been painting lately. Flip to the next page. Their eyes followed my every move. The situation was earnestly dire, more than I realized. Oh, shoot. Not my water. I need that. Certainly was dire. The situation was earnestly dire, more than I realized. They were alive, yet frozen in time, their lips sealed with a thick coat of veneer. All our best clients, El Grigio, the Bellini brothers, Durer and de Hoek, Hobbema as well. Oh, the poor soul. He just had a pawn named in his honor, all of them condemned by the strokes of his brush. The laughing cavalier was hysterical with laughter over the whole inconvenient situation. Botticelli then burst open through the front door. He said I would not escape the night alive unless I promised to sit still and share my father's fate inside the canvas. I told him he was a fool, and when the king found out about his treachery, he would have him hunted down and hanged for what he had done. Botticelli chased me out the back door, and that's when he painted my face into this Picasso of a mess you see before you, Fragonard. I didn't have a mirror, but I could feel what he had done to me by merely placing my hands over this disproportionate mess. I became the portrait of an artisan, a blank canvas for him to choose how he used the devious strokes of his brush. I ran away from his harrowing laughter, the effulgence of his crooked smile, crimson oily tears washing over the paleness of my blue cheeks in shades of violet and lavender. Botticelli followed after, paintbrush in hand, ready to finish the job. I made a dash for it down the alleyway, and got lost in a jungle of back streets. The orientation of the foreground and the background melded into one, as I was not yet accustomed to my new eyes. The buildings shifted out of alignment, analytically broken down, and then reconstructed to produce something hauntingly unreal. This hideous spell he placed over me did strange things to my other senses as well, altering my perception of not only sight, but even touch, smell, sound, and speed were distorted to an exaggeration of the truth. It also gave me multiple viewpoints on every object I came into contact with. My understanding of space, volume, and mass was reduced to a symbolic representation in its purest form. I saw some lights flickering in the windows up ahead. There was a cabaret of gypsies, and with their tents all set up, they were entertaining the crowd with jugglers and fire breathers and chance games. I thought someone would see I was in danger and offer to lend a helping hand. I quickly got lost in the crowd. It was difficult. It wasn't difficult to blend in. I looked like a clown to be mocked and heckled. A one-eyed strongman yelled, "Watch where you're going," as I bumped into him, his voice strident and forceful. I could feel his aggression flowing through my body as if though I were a translucent being made of light and air. The harlequins and the, I can't even pronounce that word in a Perot performers acted as mosaics, sculpted motifs of clay, twisted and contorted the mechanical motion of human beings. By the way, that whole section of the book, I'm just describing different forms of cubism. Sorry, I needed water. Anyways, where was I? This little boy was wandering aimlessly through the crowd. He was looking for its dada. It was irrational nonsense. What did the child mean? Screaming monsters to my insomnia, indifferent to my problems. Was I so far detached from these people that they cannot see the humanity in me? Botticelli spotted me from across the square. I ran back into the alleyways to try and lose him. He remained right behind me, hot on my tail. I yelled out, "Why have you done this to me? Hasn't my father and I provided you with an affordable living?" My voice burrowed and rattled against the brick and mortar. Botticelli scowled back. "Consider your face a fitting pun, Bourdon, for someone who squandered his life in the shadow of his father," his voice vibrating in disillusionment. "How dare you mock me? I was only trying to live up to his good name." The sound of my own voice moved throughout the night, breaking in unusual patterns. The treble in his laughter grew louder, the vibrancy of his tone reverberating into lines, his footsteps clodding in washes of muddy puddles. The stone-beat jungle. The vibrations led to a wash of yellowish green down a narrow passageway. It was the light from the street lamps breaking in between the buildings. I ended up at a four-way stop on the corner of I can't even pronounce it, Theocopolis Boulevard and Chile Street. And that's, I can't pronounce it, but that's El Gricio's real name. And then Chile was an artist. The glow from the street lamps fused with the darkness and shards of shattered glass. The road moved in circular waves, arcing in bounding rings, swaying side to side with the movement of his beguiling voice. I realized then I could no longer escape his deceitfully crooked smile. I tried pleading with his compassionate side, but found there was none to be had by this madman haunting my reality. I fell to my knees, cowering in the middle of the street, my eyes hidden from view. "Please, get it over with. Finish the job you have started. I no longer want to have to bear through this curse you have placed inside of me anymore." His shadow towered over me as well as his words. "Fair enough, Bourdon. I will see to it you and your father are mine forever to do with as I please on an easel. The king shall soon follow, and his throne and his lavish living and his arrogance shall be mine as well." Botticelli raised his brush in the air, the light wallowing in the shallowness of his features, ready to strike me down and forever paint me away. Out of nowhere, I heard his name shouted loud in anger. I thought perhaps it was another distorted noise, altered by my perception of reality. Then I rubbed my eyes to see things more clearly. All I was able to make out was a series of unintelligible shapes. Then I heard his voice again. There was a mob carrying buckets of paint marching down the street. They doused him with everything they had in an attempt to dispel his evil magic. The poor souls didn't even know how powerful he'd become. Botticelli didn't hesitate. He painted that tattoo right off his arm into a 100, no a 200, no a 500-foot paint-breathing nightmare, and not a thimble more. The people scattered throughout the back alleyways as the dragon spewed its fiery temper in 1,000 different shades. I ran into the confusion, though I wasn't sure where I was going with my sight continuing to get worse. Out of nowhere, a hand of compassion reached out and pulled me to safety. My exhausting night in the streets was finally over. It was Tintoretta, the girl I met outside of the pub. She rushed me upstairs to her loft above Maroney's tailor shop. Thank the stars and moon above I ran into her that night. We stayed up and talked for hours on end about all kinds of philosophical things. She was quite the conversationalist. I remember this large fresco she had on display on the ceiling, The Origin of the Milky Way. It was a marveling wonder of achievement, the way the colors splashed over the starry scenery of the heavens above. The hours she must have spent dedicated to this one single work of art, and it was just casually on display in her living room. She said she painted it late one night when she swore the stars were moving in an unusual manner. I had no idea she was a painter. Oh, if I wasn't infatuated with her before, I certainly was now. I thought the piece would fit in nicely with the ones on display in the king's castle. That is, if I put in a good word on her behalf. Where am I? She laughed and said the king already asked if she wanted to become a court painter. She said she turned down the offer because her father wouldn't allow his daughter to paint strictly for the wealthy, which is actually true in real life. To hear the king, he actually thought so fondly of is that a plane? Wait for the plane to pass. To hear the king, he actually thought so fondly of another, he would even dare entertain the very idea of having a painting hang on his walls that was not crafted under the Bourdon name. Our conversation made me rethink a few things I thought I once knew about myself. I began to look at my life through a new set of eyes, tandem and brown. The one feature on my face Botticelli left untouched. Though they're out of place, you can still see the glimmer in them Tintoretta was so fond of. She was a daring woman to befriend me. I will never forget her or the many others I met on my travels. In the morning, after she washed out the stains and splatters of paint on my garments, I sought out my old friend Rayburn. Bourdon then leaned down and gave Fragonard a nudge on the shoulder. Fragonard, are you awake? Yes, Bourdon, I'm awake. What is it? Well, it appeared you dozed off for a moment. I'm not boring you, am I? The caliber of my brow hasn't put you to sleep. Oh, I hope this isn't so. I've been told I tend to ramble when I get excited. No, of course not. I was just resting my eyes. Go on, I've been listening. You were telling me something about how you and Botticelli were up late at night enjoying a cup of warm tea. Yes. Anyways, we talked about life, music, painting. We even talked about the weather, if you can believe that. Ha! Shh, Bourdon, you're rambling. I think I hear Botticelli coming. I wonder what that dastardly snake could possibly want. It doesn't matter. Tuck yourself away behind the wall until he leaves. Then we'll continue talking. Got a mosquito here. All right. I'll just be behind this wall, hiding away from the world and all the problems that have forsaken me. Bourdon! Oh yes, right. Botticelli then entered the room, just as Bourdon tucked himself behind the wall. Good evening, Fragonard. You still persist in holding a conversation with this forgotten memory of my past. I could remove him entirely, brick by brick, to fill in that hole. But let him be a reminder of what happens when you cross paths with a master. Did you come down here just to pester me? Or is there a purpose to your vile visit? I have some unfortunate news. Your friend Logan Landseer was thrown from his horse the other day. He died early this morning from the fall. How could you let him die? Did his kindness mean nothing to you? Landseer was one of the few in your kingdom I did admire for his skills. He certainly was a fine craftsman, but he refused my help. Said he wouldn't be healed by a charlatan with a deceitfully crooked smile as beautiful as mine. And Landseer was named after my second cousin who passed away. And that's when I wrote that part in the book, unfortunately. Before others succumb to your treachery, Botticelli, release my father from the canvas and the rest of the people you've imprisoned down here since you started this madness. I will release them if you but make one simple promise to me. Apprentice under my magic and skills as a painter, or share in your father's fate inside the canvas. Well, what shall it be? I believe the answer is obvious. If you have any dignity left, you could paint this man a face, or at least a brow, so that I may receive a proper response when I speak of your ill will. Since you enjoy his companionship, then the least I could do is tell you his name. After all, you wouldn't want to address him improperly when introducing him to others. How dare you? Of course not. I've always given proper introductions. Now tell me his name and do not mispronounce it, so that I may address him proper when speaking to others. His name is Rayburn, the last man to stand in my way. Now, if you will excuse me, it is nearing dark, and I have some flowers in the garden that need attending. After Botticelli left the room, Bourdon came out from behind the wall with tears running down his colorful, pale blue cheeks. Oh, Fragonard, I did not know it was Rayburn. Poor Rayburn. He does not deserve this. His magic knows no bounds. See to it you give him the justice he has not afforded us. He truly is a madman who will do anything within his power to get to the top, so long as he does not have to work hard for his efforts. That I can agree on. Now finish telling me your story, Bourdon, so I may begin my final battle with this monster, and show him the true skills of a master who knows how to wield the brush properly. Just promise me this. You will let him know I gave you the brush and who it was crafted under. Bourdon then put a hand on his disproportionately blue chin and told Fragonard the rest of his story. Now let me see. Where did I leave off? Oh yes, I remember now. Poor Rayburn. The last time I saw him. And that is the end of that chapter. And the next chapter is Off Valparaiso, which is a painting by Thomas Jacob Summerscales, and he's one of my favorite seascape painters. I hope you'll look him up. So that was quite a twist. We found out the man with no face is actually Rayburn, and Henry Rayburn is one of my favorite portrait painters. Supposedly he was so good he could paint your portrait by memory and not have to do any study work, which quite profound. So I don't know, I would look him up. Well, that concludes tonight's chapter reading. I hope you guys that have been following along will check out, all the chapters are up under the playlist there, so you can go back to the beginning if you want. And again, it's up on Amazon Kindle. I got a link on the channel, and you can check it out it's for $2.99, or order a copy if you want, or you can just listen. And leave me a review. That would greatly appreciate that. It is definitely dark out. We are still here at the park. You can't see burial mounds anymore. But yeah, so Sherman Park was known back in the day. This is where they discovered all the Native American burial grounds, and they had a big slide over there and an outlook over the city. But I'm not going to get into all of that history tonight. But that will conclude for tonight, and I'm not sure if I'll come back tomorrow night or if I'll wait until Monday yet, because I've got a big weekend. Danish Days is coming up, and I got to go celebrate being Danish. That's important. What else was I gonna? Oh, how? I wanted to do an author talk or something like that. I've tried before, but I can't get enough people interested, or maybe just a talk where people ask questions about me, because I got a lot to talk about. I studied art history extensively in my youth for fun. I worked extensively with optical science and Islamic arts, writing, playwriting, poetry, all kinds of fun stuff. So thanks guys for listening, and this is a good night. Thanks everybody for, I wish I should have replied to everybody, but it's kind of nice because I had a lot of good positive comments tonight. Normally I get a lot of weird comments, so thank you guys for being the first set of people to actually respond positively for once on here, which is good to know. And I hope you'll share this with people who might enjoy my story about Aidan Fragonard, the boy in the painting, and you can't even see the book now. So thanks for listening along. I probably have to leave the park now. It's probably closing time. So, but maybe I'll come back. I might come back tomorrow and close this section out. I don't know where I'll sit next time. So, but thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow. J. Krieger, author of the books of 9 and 10 Penance. Terrible at signing off, but thanks for listening. And you can check out on the channel, the under playlists, you can listen back to all the other chapters from my book that I've been reading. Have a good night.